Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, depends upon where you are in this world. Where we are in this world is in the headquarters, the training division of Miami-Dade Fire Rescue Department. I'm Bill Gustin. Bill Gustin. We're getting a little bit of a repeat here. It's an echo, yeah. Bill Gustin with Miami-Dade Fire Rescue Department. 40 years on the job here and 5 in the Chicago area. And our friend here is the lovely Maria Chin, captain with the training division. And she brings a lot to the table because our topic today is going to be recruit training. That's both the training academy and also the mentoring and probationary firefighter training once the recruit is in the field assigned to a company. The best way to learn something is to teach it, and that's certainly how it worked for me. And I'll tell my story a little bit later in our hangout. I want to thank our sponsor, Key Hose. You can reach them at either keyfire or keyhose.com. When I finish this hangout, I'm going to change my shirt, go on out in our 88-degree weather or 94-degree, whatever it happens to be. It's not as hot as Clark in Las Vegas. And I'm going to have my hands on our high-rise hose, which I can't say it's for everybody, but it is for us. We have adopted 3 75-foot sections of 2-inch hose with 2.5-inch couplings. And we achieve flows of 250 gallons per minute and an outlet pressure of 100 PSI. If we get down to 65, we are still flowing around 200 gallons a minute. You can't kink the stuff. There are various grades of Key Fire hose. They're all good, but their top of the line is Key Combat Ready. And it is phenomenal hose that is almost impossible to kink because we've tried it. So don't go cheap on hose, but I'm very confident and very happy to endorse Key because I have my hands on it every day that I'm in the academy. And prior to that, when I was on my company. So little bit about myself. As I said, at 40 years with Miami-Dade, started off with the Wheaton Fire Department in the Chicago area. And was a firefighter in Naperville, Illinois, before coming to the Dade County Fire Department in 1978. And I did spend some time in recruit training, which we will, I'll relate my experiences. Maria, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, first, thanks for having me here today. My name is Maria Chin. I've been with Miami-Dade Fire Rescue for 25 years. I've been assigned to the training division for the last 6 years. However, I've been in and out of training since 1998, and this is currently my 39th class for recruit training that I've done in the academy.
And can you tell what did you do before you came on the fire department?
Before joining the fire department, I was in the military. I did 8 years. I was a corpsman, which is a medic. I did 4 years active duty, where I also went to the Fleet Marine Force to learn how to basically be a grunt corpsman in the times of war. After Desert Storm, I joined the reserves and finished my career in the military after 8 years.
And you just returned from seeing your dad?
Yes, my father, fortunately, I'm very blessed. He turned 88 on Friday and he lives in Jamaica. So I returned on Monday from spending a quick weekend to celebrate his 88th birthday.
Oh, great. Well, I'm really glad you decided to come on because I know you're going to bring a lot to the table, Marie, and I know you have a very challenging job and a lot of experiences to bring to light to us. Sam, a little bit about yourself.
Samuel Hiddle, captain with Wichita Fire Department, instructor for traditions training, and I'm just here to entertain Bill.
Well, you're highly entertaining, Sam. Okay, where's your hat, Sam?
They don't let me wear them on duty anymore.
Okay, yeah, all right. What about the one with the propeller on the top? You can't wear that one either?
That's a setup.
Okay, all right. Daryl Liggins. Daryl, do you still have a state, or did the whole state burn up?
It's been quite a fire season out here. One of the complex fires just north of this Bay Area is now the largest fire in the history of California. And that just surpassed what just 8 months ago was the largest fire in the history of California. So, yeah, it is quite a fire season.
And what department are you with, Daryl?
So my name is Daryl Liggins. I'm with the fire department. This is my 26th year now in the fire service. I got in really young. I started at 20 years old, so I didn't do too much before the fire service other than changing truck tires and stuff, working in a garage. I have not been permanently assigned to the training division, but I do teach our hose and nozzles and handline stretches to the recruits as an adjunct instructor. And I've been doing that for about the last 15 years.
Great, great. Well, thanks for participating today, Daryl. And we've got the Doug and Dan show. Fellas, you want to introduce yourselves?
All right. Thanks, Bill. Thanks for having me on again. I'm Dan Shaw. I'm a deputy chief in Fairfax County, Virginia, just coming up on my 24th year there. Also a vice president of traditions training and co-authored with this guy, 25 Survive. And looking forward to having another great conversation. And Maria, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
I'm Doug Mitchell. I'm a captain in the New York City Fire Department, coming up on my 20th year there. Prior to that, Dan and I worked together in Fairfax County for a few years. I just spent the last 18 months running through 3 probationary firefighter classes at the New York City Fire Academy, The Rock, as the executive officer of Probationary Firefighter School. So I commend you, Maria, for not only your service, but your patience in dealing with 39 recruit schools. I think my head might explode. The 3 that I did there, while on a bigger scale, we had roughly 320 probationary firefighters start each of those particular programs. What a great opportunity. And what a great group of people, tremendous staff and a tremendous behind the scenes cadre that really make the basic firefighting function a real priority. And they're professionals, that's for sure. And I was glad to be part of the team for the 18 months that I was there, the 3 Proby classes. And now I'm back as a covering captain in the Bronx, 7th Division.
Oh, thanks, Doug.
Awesome.
Clark Lamping, sir.
Morning, everybody. It is 10 o'clock in the morning out here on the West Coast. My name is Clark Lamping. I'm a captain with the Clark County Fire Department here in Las Vegas area. And every time I'm on the show with Daryl Liggins, I have to remind everybody that it's the new home of the Las Vegas Raiders. I know he loves that. I spent 1 year in the training division, but I was not over a recruit class. That was a separate part. So I did general training for the rest of the department. And I'm at Station 11. We get a lot of probationary firefighters come through Station 11. So I am constantly mentoring and training these probationary firefighters. That's all I got. Oh, it's going to be 111 degrees today in Las Vegas. So that has some interesting challenges when you're fighting fire in those kind of conditions. So that's about all I got.
Oh, thank you, Clark. I think I'm going to begin with the meanest thing I ever did as a recruit training instructor, and it has nothing to do with harassment. It just means I would not have done this today, but back in before I became kinder and gentler, I was on duty at a fire company, and my company was, because I teach the recruits large diameter hose, that was my kind of like Daryl. He comes in to teach hose. My thing was to teach large diameter hose, and we used my apparatus as one of the apparatus to drill off of. So as we're approaching the training center, I noticed the air rescue helicopter is on the ground, and the entire recruit class is there. And I guess they had forgotten that I was scheduled that day to teach 5-inch hose. Well, these recruits are chomping at the bit, getting ready for a ride in a Bell 412, and they could take up like 6 recruits at a time. And this is like the highlight of their academy. Well, I get there, and I've only got so much time. They can get a ride in a helicopter. Hey, you want to ride the helicopter? Go get hit by a car or something. We'll make you a trauma alert. You'll get a ride in a helicopter. That's what I told them. We'll fly you right over to Jackson Memorial Hospital Trauma Center and land you on the helipad. You don't have time for helicopter rides. We got to do the 5-inch hose. So that is the meanest thing I've ever done as a recruit training instructor. As I said, the best way to learn something is to teach it. And I think Doug, somebody before was talking about the cross bugles. On our job, that is a captain's, as Maria has. That's a captain position because our captains used to be battalion commanders. So when I was promoted to captain in 1986, I was in charge of a battalion. They reorganized the fire department in 1987, late 87, and then put captains on companies where you'd have 3 platoons. One would be a captain in charge of the company and 2 lieutenants on the other shifts. So I hadn't had my hands on the tools in over a year, participated in drills. What a great way to get back, get your head and your heart and your hands back in the job, take a position in recruit training and handle that hose, ladders, equipment, wear that bunker gear again. There's no faster way to get yourself back up to speed or renew your enthusiasm in the job than being involved in recruit training. You have anything to add to that, or you could disagree too, Maria?
No, I totally agree. Especially for new officers who were under different mentorship by different officers. Once they get newly promoted, what better way to get back to the basics, get back to the foundation, because you're probably used to doing things a certain way. Now you're in charge, and what better way to come to recruit training and to relearn or retrain yourself all the fundamentals, the basics that you're going to be teaching the recruits. I agree.
Yeah, and another challenge that I see, and I as I've said before, I've said it publicly many times, Maria, on the first day that the recruits come in and the fire chief is there, and I point to the lieutenants at the back of the room, the recruit training instructors that have the red shirts on, and I say, you see those people back there? Those people have the most important job on this fire department because they control our future. And
they absolutely do. They absolutely control our future. They make or break because they're leaders themselves. And what I pride myself on is we are going to be developing leaders on this job. That's what we're here. I mean, it's not just about being the best firefighter that you can be, but it's about leadership. So they come in and their job is to develop other leaders like themselves. And you're absolutely right. They make or break what we put out into the fire department, what we put on that truck for the rest of their career. The first impression is always going to be lasting. So when they come to the recruit training academy as an instructor, their responsibility is to lead and to make sure that they're going to be putting the best firefighter that they can possibly put on that truck for day one on their job, not for their career, but for day one on the job.
And these guys are right now, they're doing confined space.
Yes, they are.
It's hot outside and they work them hard, but we work them fairly. And they bring each other up. Now, one thing that is very unpleasant, a very unpleasant part of your job, because I witnessed it and I hated it, when you have to let a recruit go.
Yes.
And of course, the later in the program it is, the harder it is. And can you talk about how that makes our people, how it makes you feel, and how it makes the rest of the class feel when we have to let somebody go?
Well, it's part of the job. Telling someone that you are not meeting the standards to be a Miami-Dade Fire Rescue firefighter, for whatever the circumstances are, whatever the reasons are that he or she has to be terminated. It is definitely the most unpleasant part of my job, and I don't enjoy it at all. Because I believe also that we give our firefighters the tools necessary, our recruits. And so when faced with having to tell someone, listen, you have too many demerits, or you failed too many tests, or you've broken the rules, or you're just not up to par physically or mentally, whatever the case is, it has to be the most difficult thing. We preach teamwork from the very beginning, from day one. So, and it's ingrained in our recruits. So when the recruits get together and form a bond, they become family. So now, depending on what program, and our programs are normally 14 to 16 weeks for a certified class, obviously a lot non-certified class, they have bonded and they've become a family. And now they're realizing that one of their own is not going to be finishing with them on graduation. So not only am I going through a little bit of a trauma mentally, having to tell this young person that I'm sorry, but your dreams are going to be coming to an end right now, because we do have quite a few people, thousands of people that want to become a Miami-Dade firefighter. And I'm now telling this person that their dreams have come to an end. I have to deal with that individual walking out of the door. I then have to go back and face the 33 other people. In this case, we have a class of 34. So I now have to face all the other people in the classroom and basically do a critical incident stress debriefing, because they've just lost one of their classmates that they were hoping to see graduate.
They do actually bring each other up. And I listen to them in the, when I'm working out in the gym, and then I go in the locker room. I listen to these guys talking to each other and helping each other. And they do form a family, a brotherhood, a sisterhood. And it is remarkable to see that bond develop, and the camaraderie between them. Sam, do you have anything to add to this as far as your experiences with recruit training, both negative and positive?
Most of my experience with recruit training is as an adjunct. I've never led an academy. I couldn't agree more how important it is. I mean, I can name 4 people immediately that I gravitated to as a recruit, that I could tell these are the people that I want to shape my career like. So they're going to establish their initial mentors when they're in the academy. I think the biggest struggle in the academy, like when I do adjunct instructing, is how much is too little and how much is too much. You know, and I personally, I kind of take the position that we need to show them that the fire service is this big. We don't have to expect them to understand everything we're teaching them, but they need to understand that it is something that goes beyond basic skills. But then we need to back up, and we have to reinforce the basic skills to the extent that they can get out there and perform their part of the function without direct company supervision.
Yes, Sam, I really think that the purpose of recruit training is twofold. One is to teach them how to do the job. The other is to inspire these young people to become lifelong students of the fire service and have their head and their heart in the job. Just recently, with Maria's permission, the last 3 recruit classes have been going to Sprinkler-Matic University, which is west of Fort Lauderdale. And our purpose there is, of course, to learn fire suppression systems. It's quite an elaborate laboratory for sprinkler and standpipe systems, and it's semi-outdoors because we're in warm weather here. Nothing freezes, so we can do that. But again, our purpose is, yes, teach them the systems, instill that hunger for knowledge to get out and learn those systems and continue to be a student of the fire service. So, Daryl, if you could weigh in on this a little bit.
Yeah, I'd be glad to, Bill. One thing is, it's a little difficult sometimes if you're deep into your career like I am, to bring yourself back to the basics. And a lot of times when I am teaching, I go down with a newer member, definitely off probation, but a newer member that can sometimes help cover just some of those basics along with me, because it is difficult to bring yourself back to that. It's really important to have standards. I heard Captain Chin saying sometimes people aren't meeting these standards, and it's so important to have absolute standards. So it's not her decision or someone else's decision if a recruit is being cut. It's got to be based on standards, not how we feel that day or who happens to be the academy director at the time. You can run into some real legal issues if things are not done that way, or even something that may appear to be hostile or just unfavorable to one person or the other. So having standards, physical standards, written test standards, and things like that are really important. The other thing is, once they get out into the field, it's really important for them to have some mentor, somebody that they trust, that they can call and see, you know, how things are going, who they can confide some information in, as far as how things are going for them, or who they can turn to if they don't think that their training is going in the direction that it should be.
I have a question here.
Okay.
Does Captain Chin, that's me, find that veterans can make better recruits or perform better in the academy?
Oh,
Well,
I'm going to let you answer that.
Usually, it's been my experience that veterans do not have a difficult time in the academy, and that's two-part. Well, it also depends on how long were they a veteran for. I mean, how long ago were they a veteran, and did they just get out of the military, or has it been many years? And even though they may have gotten out of the military years ago, they're still easier to conform to following orders. They're easier to actually speak to, and they understand the concept of chain of command and what it's like to have discipline and have that type of military bearing, which we require in our academy. So I usually find that veterans make a much better recruit as far as structure and as far as following orders. Doesn't necessarily make them a good firefighter, but as far as recruits and following the rules and complying with standards and obeying orders, absolutely, I believe veterans tend to perform better overall in the academy.
And I think that we have some pretty high standards on this job.
Yes, I would say we're pretty strict.
Yes, we are. It's no joke. It's serious business. And one thing that, stress to what you tell the recruits about the family support, not the class themselves as a family, but how much they have to thank their family and depend upon their family to get through the academy.
Yes. We have, like I said, 14 to 16 weeks for a certified program, and it's pretty rigorous for the 16 weeks. In the first week, we have what we affectionately call the hell week, of where we break you down to build you up, basically. And there we stress the importance of making sure to rely on the family support, making sure that the recruits are okay at home. Midway through our program, we have a family night where we invite the immediate family of the recruits to an event that's usually done after hours at evening, and we feed them dinner. We show a PowerPoint, excuse me, and we basically tell the family about recruit training and our department. So it's important for the family to understand what their loved ones are going through.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, after they've been beat up physically, especially in the hot summer months, they still have homework to do.
Exactly, and many of our recruits are married, and if their loved ones have no clue what they're going through, we don't want to further add to their stress of already being stressed at work, and now they go home and their spouses aren't necessarily understanding, and so they have double the problem, with a home and work.
Well, great. Doug and Dan, do you want to weigh in on this? Doug, can you give us, I think you are uniquely qualified, you and Maria. Well, Maria's tuberculosis is kicking up again. So, all those years of working with asbestos, and now she's got
the black lung.
She was in the Navy. She wasn't really a medic. She was working in the boiler room.
So, Bill, to your question, I mean, and Doug will kind of give his input from being a part of the ROC, but it's all about perspective, what we talk about in this round table all the time anyway. So from my perspective as the operations deputy for my shift, the two important things out of what Maria said, but also what we're talking about is the first is, the recruits come to my shift. Our shifts are composed of 3 shifts, so I have about 420 plus people on duty every day. So when we go to our meeting and me and the other 2 ops deputies sit down and we get our list of recruits, I will tell you from my perspective, I'm glad that you have to have that uncomfortable conversation and you let someone go when they don't meet the expectations. Because what I expect when they come out of recruit school is I am getting the finished, refined, best tool that's going to come out and it's going to lead us to complete the mission. And not someone that doesn't meet that standard. I don't want to find out later that they haven't met a standard or they haven't risen to the expectation of what you had in recruit school. So I'm glad you have to have that uncomfortable conversation, because I think it's okay as a society for us to say to some people that while you wanted to do this, if you didn't exert the effort to meet the known expectations and you were given the support all throughout this entire process, you couldn't make it. It's okay. At least you now can figure out something else you can do, because at the end of the day, what is different about our job is the fire always gets a vote. It could care less what your background is or anything else. If you can't meet the expectation, it's not like the fire's going to go, well, he wasn't good at stretching a hose line, so we're going to be okay. So from my perspective, that's I'm glad you do it. And that's what we look for as ops deputy when I get recruits, is that I'm thinking I'm getting 30 to 40 of the best. Out of that pool of 3,000 plus that got down to the 30 went to recruit school, that's the best of the best. The other important part, I think, from my perspective, is one thing that's really missing is it's important to bridge the gap between what you guys do in recruit schools and then what our officers do in the field. So what I mean by that is, if I went to, and Daryl touched on this, if I went to recruit school 24 years ago, my perspective, my natural human bias is that you did the same exact thing in recruit school that I did, and that you should have the same level of expertise or same level of refinement when you come out. If I haven't been back to recruit school, I have no idea what they're teaching in the modern curriculum in 24 plus years, and I'll look at fire behavior. I'll look at our own organization. We had to scale back some of our time in recruit school to make more time for EMS. So what was cut was what was not in the JPR's NFPA language. I meant elevators was gone. So when I came out of recruit school, we spent a week doing elevators, learning how to access them and do an elevator rescue. They do one day. So if you run your first call with that recruit doing elevators, they go, I don't know what an elevator key is. Well, it's not really their fault. I mean, it's the fault of the organization that we didn't bridge the gap. So I know exactly what you're teaching. And then when they come to us in the field, and if I'm a captain, I go, okay, now I know what I need to work on. I know that, hey, they didn't get elevators. They didn't get swift water rescue. They didn't get the opportunity to go swimming. So I don't even know if this person could swim or not. And again, that was another one of the issues we had. Probably not an issue for you guys in Miami, but it was one of the things that when I went to recruit school, you had to go swim in your turnout gear to see how comfortable you were and allow us to evaluate whether or not people could swim. And we just don't do that now. We do it now in the field. But so it's really important to bridge a gap between us in the field knowing exactly what that recruit, what do they come out, what's the requisite knowledge they come out with, and then we can say, okay, this is what we have to focus on or hone and continue to kind of build up. Doug?
Well, we've talked about a lot of great stuff here just in a short period of time. And I just want to take it back to the beginning that we talked about mentors. And our job recognizes the importance of mentors, so much so that they have assigned mentors to candidates before they even get to probie school. So firefighters who are in the field operating, who signed up to be mentors, now have a probationary firefighter that they report back and forth with before they even start the academy to prepare them for what they're going to be getting involved in. Obviously, too, with the social media and the things like we're doing here right now, we have a great outreach with our recruitment and retention programs to ensure that the candidates know what they're getting themselves into, because many times they don't. You know, we had over 40,000, almost 50,000 applicants, for over 50,000 applicants for our last exam. Some of them were just, oh, I'll give it a try, and they don't know what they're getting themselves into. So that mentoring program starts before they get into the academy, carries them through the academy, and many of them, we've been reported that they've been lifelong, as they've graduated and went out to the firehouses, have remained friends and be able to share those experiences with those more senior members. The other thing too is, I know Dan said, like, well, if you went to recruit school, in 1947, like when Bill Gustin went, it's different today. It's different today. It is, but it isn't. We all sat in those same seats. We all were in those positions where it was your first time picking up a nozzle. It was your first time picking up a Halligan. And for the instructors to remember that that emotion, that excitement, that nervousness. You know, this is Proby school is the time to make the mistakes. Like it's okay, and your instructors have to realize that mistakes are going to be made. It's about learning from the mistakes, correcting the mistakes, and ensuring that those mistakes don't become the beginnings of bad habits. So on our fire department, the Rock has been in existence now since probably the early 70s. We have 11,051 active duty members on our department. Every single one of them sat and went through evolutions in that academy. Every single person sat in one of those seats in that auditorium. The seats haven't even been changed. So that kind of esprit de corps, knowing that you're teaching in that group of 300 students. When I got up and was able to address them as a group, I'm talking to future lieutenants, future captains, chiefs, maybe even the next chief of department could be sitting in that somewhere in that auditorium, just like I was almost 20 years ago. And that's a pretty powerful thing that I think you need to take a step back and realize, you know, you're empowering that next generation. They're going to carry forth the legacy of your department. And, you know, Maria, where you have 34 in a tight group, you can kind of, you have a better opportunity to mold that on a smaller scale. We have our squads. We have those 320 broken down into squads of about 24 to 28, depending. And those squad mates, my squad mates, I keep in contact with them quite regularly. And again, that building of family, that expectations of what they're going to get themselves into with, you know, your family day. We have a family day as well to show the families what they've been doing for the last 18 weeks. All great stuff. I'll end it on this note where you said that you had a tough time letting people go. I had no problem letting people go because the standards are the standards, and it's pretty black and white. And we give them ample opportunity. We've recognized that adult learning has changed. So each Proby has their set of manuals in paperback. They have iPads. They have copies and videos that are downloaded to those iPads that show the evolutions and break them down for them. They have every opportunity to succeed. I can honestly say that we have given them every opportunity, but not everybody has that passion. And it's hard to teach heart. You can't teach heart. And if a person is not meeting the grade, I had no problem saying, this is just not working out for you. And before you hurt yourself or somebody else, you might need to come to the realization that this is not going to be a profession for you. And I think by and large, the people that I had to say that to, when I told it to them that straight faced and that's what they wanted to hear, they realized and they knew deep down that this wasn't for them. They felt that bond starting to come around them and hold on to them. But meanwhile, they were the last one done, failing evolution, failing the quizzes. The team tried to rally them. We recognized that they weren't doing good. We'd pair up the best student and have study groups and, you know, remedials. We gave them every opportunity. And if they couldn't make the grade, it's black and white. You pass or you fail. And I know you might feel like, oh, that's a tough thing to do. But I look at sending somebody out to the field who's not ready. Well, one, who are we letting down? Well, number one is those citizens that we swore an oath to protect. Number two, the brothers and sisters on the hose line with them. And then number three, the person themselves, you know? So I had no problem saying goodbye to somebody.
Just to clarify, it's not that I don't have a problem. I think I just, maybe as a female, I'm a little bit more compassionate. No offense, but it's so many people, so many people, you know, you have, I mean, you're talking a totally different perspective when you have 11,000 on your department and we have 2,500 and you're talking 50,000 that apply. We have about 9,000 that applied. Actually, we had 10,000 that just applied in June for our next hiring process. So I know that there, you know, and a lot of our recruits have left other departments that they've worked for years and have now decided because Miami-Dade is where they want to be here in South Florida. So I don't want it to seem like I was just, you know, very weak at saying that, oh, I feel really bad, because ultimately I totally agree with you that, Doug, that we are actually doing a disservice if we do not notify those that are so weak. And yes, everybody's going to rally around them. We're going to provide the resources and the tools necessary to succeed. But if they are not cutting the mustard and they're absolutely failing, that's my job, is to weed out the weak ones and find the strengths in people. And so, and we'll walk them out the door. I still feel bad about it though. And you're right, Dan. You're right, Dan. Not everybody can be a firefighter. Not everybody can be a physicist or scientist or a garbage man even, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, this job isn't for everyone. That's for sure.
I think when you're dealing with a
Go ahead,
smaller
Darryl.
group of people, you get to know them a little bit more. So even if you're trying to separate that, you end up drawing a connection. And in most of this country's fire department, going to be 2-3 people at a time, and putting in time and energy into that person. And we're always trying to get everybody to succeed as much as you can. I heard something interesting a friend said the other day, because we've talked about molding these new people, and he said they call their new probies clay. And they use that term to remind everybody that you are shaping this person. So they call them clay. But I have a question, because Dan brought up a really good point, and I know I think my organization is challenged with this, is bridging that gap between what somebody learned in the field and what they learned in the academy, and how do we let everybody in the field exactly know what they learned in the academy? Because if we're starting to ask them, did you learn about how to call for a mayday, or did you learn about how to go to these different radio channels, it starts breaking down confidence in that new firefighter in the system.
Well,
Go ahead, Maria.
as far as our academy goes, I developed the curriculum based on our standard operating procedures, or SOGs, or FOGs, whatever it is that you call it. And so in operations in the field, everyone should know their SOPs. So based on that, I mean, just the fire service is evolving, recruit training is evolving. Yes, you're going to pull a hose, you're going to deploy a line, and you're going to advance it, and you're going to go to the fire, but it's about technique. It's about what line, it's about what pressures, it's about working together as a company. That has changed. That skill set has changed. And so based on our standard operating procedures in the field, I formulate my whole curriculum based on that. So we work closely together with probationary development. So once they finish recruit training, probationary development totally knows what we've taught them, and they guide them throughout the year. The probationary firefighters have to come back to the training center on a quarterly basis. And they also have the probationary development officers have to go to the field and visit the probationary firefighters in the field. They have a module with all the evolutions or drills that they're required to do, so that the primary supervisors know exactly what is required of them. And they should be drilling on the same level as if they're any company in operations, because they're following our SOPs. So the curriculum is based on that. That's what they learn in recruit school.
Maria, I believe that the work of stationary people is as beneficial or more beneficial to the veteran on the fire company as it is to, because forces that company to get out there and perform these evolutions.
Right.
If you're teaching these recruits a better way to heal the large diameter hose with laying a line, I want to know about it. And I when I was on a company, would look forward to having a new recruit, somebody right out of the academy, and we've got a book, and most of those evolutions is are a whole company, so it involves the whole company, and it gets the company out. And what it really ends up happening is the recruit, sometimes, depending upon the evolution and
The group.
all right, we can sugarcoat it or not, but the recruit ends up being somewhat of the instructor. Be honest, be totally honest with you. Yeah.
Absolutely, and that's what firefighter on that job, that they're able to face anything, and then it's up to the primary supervisor to continue that, training, and the probationary development officer to continue that training as well.
I'm going to endorse Key Hose here again, shameless, but there's a segue into is that when these recruits, they are like hose managing machines. And I'm teaching the entire department now, the 2-inch hose evolutions. And well, guess who's had their hands all over this stuff? The recruits. So when I get a company back here that has a probationary person on it, they are the ones that excel with the basic hose evolutions for standpipes. That workbook, Maria, is something which I think is very beneficial to the whole department. Now, what does that have to do with key hose? It's got everything to do with key hose, because that hose is being put to the test every single day that the academy, 5 days a week. They're dragging it over windowsills, around corners. If you want to put your hose to the test, put it to the test in the academy, because that's where it's going to get the most use, including anything else, any other type of equipment. We've just started that recently with the logistics, where when we now get a new gate valve, a water thief manifold, give it to the academy, because if it's SCBA, in fact, would you tell it? So that's my point, is that we would wear out that key hose if it wasn't as durable and have the abrasion and heat resistance that it has. So it is, if you want to put a piece of equipment to the test, bring it to your academy. Now, we did an interesting thing with the breathing apparatus, which you remember when we first got the Scots.
Yes.
Is that what you want to talk about?
No, I'm just saying that we recently have new Quick Connects Scott packs now, our SCBA bottles, so we no longer have to have a valve to screw it in. So that's going to be another next step in using it a lot, because the recruits will be utilizing that probably first before the field does.
Yeah. Videos from Clark County Fire Department, Nevada, and you're watching the video, and every few minutes it pans back to the thermometer that's on the training tower, and I'm looking at like 120 degrees. You know what I'm talking about, Clark? And it does wear your recruits down. What do you do to keep people from falling out from the heat? You're on mute, Clark.
Yep, I'm back. Yeah, we PT first thing in the morning. Class starts at 6 a.m. and they do most of the outdoor drills at 6 a.m. They do a lot of the classroom work inside during the hot afternoon hours. We have mandatory water and Gatorade intake standards for the recruits. It's funny when you go to the class, in the classroom, they're sitting there, and every single recruit has a 32-ounce water bottle and a 32-ounce Gatorade bottle on their desk, and they were required to drink that much water at certain increments, and they get yelled at if there's not enough water missing from their bottles. And then mandatory bathroom breaks. It's really, really difficult. Yeah, besides that, and we don't protect them. We absolutely drill in the hot hours of the day too, because that's the environment we work in here. So we don't try to kill anybody. Obviously, we have medical standby all the time. There are paramedics, and not just because of the heat, but anytime we're drilling or something like that, we have paramedics on standby. So that's I'm sure everyone has the same situation. You guys from the East Coast, do your recruits drill in the middle of winter? Of course you do. You have to, right? And you two, Captain Gustin and Captain Chin, I mean, you got some pretty climate challenges there as well. Couple things that I just want to reiterate. I've been taking a couple notes. Yeah, we have no problem firing people in our academy. In fact, we've been told that it's one of the most difficult academies on the West Coast. We typically fire between 25 and 33% of every single academy that comes through. And we are known for that. And people know if you show up to a Clark County Fire Academy, it will be extremely, extremely difficult. We have the backing of the operations chief. We have the backing of the fire chief. They handpick the cadre, and the fire chief and the operations chief have full confidence in the decisions that cadre makes. So if that cadre says this person needs to go, that person goes. In one of our neighboring departments, they have something called a no-fail academy. And it's that city's government. Their attitude is, look, once this person's been hired, then they are now a full-time employee of this city. So we have a no-fail academy, and they do everything they can, unless it's something arduous, cheating or something like that. This city does everything it can to not fire people, and that is dangerous. And they are making really poor decisions. They're turning out some people that have no business being firefighters, barely have any business working at Starbucks.
I'll say, from a city government's point of view, I could definitely see that they feel that they have already made a significant investment. I know in Los Angeles, depending on the point in time that you fail the academy, you can be recycled back into another academy to kind of start fresh from another point in time. I do not work there, so I do not know the details of that. But does anybody else deal with anything like that, where you may be able to come back into another academy at like the midpoint?
No. What we do, Daryl, is we always give the candidate an opportunity to resign before he's terminated. If you're terminated, you can never apply again. But if you resign, you're allowed to reapply. And with that come, depending on, maybe it was an injury, maybe it was a problem at home, something like that. We do lose people for situations like that. If they resign, then they will take special consideration into the next class if they need to reapply. So, and the cadre already knows them. If they feel strongly about this person, then we will rehire that person and send them through the academy, but they have to start from day one like everybody else. You know, we have a saying, not we do, but everyone has a saying, our fire chief's interview to get hired is 30 minutes long. So we say it takes 30 minutes to hire the wrong person. It takes 30 years to get rid of that person. So that's why, and you know, the chief's interview, he's been prepped. The candidate's obviously been prepped. He's in a suit. He's sitting in front of the chief. He knows exactly what the chief's going to ask. He knows exactly the answer the chief wants. So the chief can't really get a feel for this candidate. It's on the drill grounds that you really get an assessment of this candidate. So that's it. Does that answer your question, Daryl?
Yeah. I'm sorry I wasn't able to chime in on the challenge of extreme weather. If our firefighters get hot, we could send them to San Francisco, where it's going to have some more fog or something over there. But I do recall starting recruit school with older turnouts that had rubber liners. And I am so thankful that we have more modern turnout gear now, because those things would cause you to lose pounds a day in water weight.
Yeah, Maria, can you comment on that? Because we're issuing the recruits brand new gear.
Yes, they have a majority of them. The same standards as Clark does. We're required to have, for us, it's a 20-ounce bottle of water, and they have coolers, 5-gallon coolers with diluted Gatorade, and it's pretty much mandatory to make sure they're hydrated all the time, and that they have to have a full bottle and constantly take breaks. But we are also a weather challenged when it comes to humidity and the heat index. It's not necessarily 111, but it sure feels like it. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. Heat index of 106 is not unusual for us. It is, but I will say, and I'm going to say this tomorrow because I have the recruits tomorrow, and I'm going to be discussing building construction with them. And again, I only have 8 hours. So my ultimate goal is not so much what can I teach in 8 hours, is to inspire them to become students of building construction for the fire service. And I'm going to tell these young people tomorrow that right now, when you're almost finished, you'll be graduating the 24th of August. You are much, much better firefighters than I was at that stage in my career, because we were sorely lacking back in those days. Daryl, you were talking about the abysmal gear that they gave us, just hand-me-down, just garbage. Now these folks have state-of-the-art gear when they begin the academy. And I honestly mean that. You know, we talk a lot about millennials. And listen, I'm the old man here. Right? I got a son that's 33 and a daughter that's 28. So I guess they're not considered millennials. We have millennials in this class. And I think we're painting with a broad brush when we say, well, you know, they're irresponsible. You know, they have a short attention span. I'm looking at some pretty tough young people. But having said that, Maria, are there some challenges?
Absolutely. With every passing year, I think there's a challenge that we have to face, and people learn in different ways. I mean, and now the age of the millennials, everyone has a smartphone. They want to see videos. They're more in tune. So do you adapt your program? Of course you adapt your program, because we're a professional organization. And just as we develop a curriculum, we want to make sure that they're understanding, they're learning, and we teach accordingly. So we've in turn, everybody has a laptop, everything. We don't have any paper in our recruit training. Everything is electronic, and that's how they learn. Obviously, the best way to learn is hands-on, getting down and dirty, and that's true, tried and true, and it's the best way ever in our of firefighting. But we have adapted as far as our PowerPoints. We don't really call it PowerPoint, we say PowerPoint less, because people can be AV to death, but we do have videos. We have a down and dirty video series that we videotape and show techniques that will help them better learn. So it's better, it's just best. It's, providing the best tools necessary for them. And you have to kind of adapt with the way people learn nowadays. And it's a new tech, new age type of world.
Well, Maria, I'm going to ask you to make a commitment here and promise me in front of the millions of people around the world that are watching us right now. We probably get more viewers than The View. So, which is one of my favorite shows. So, I'm still bugging you for those videos. I want to post them on the fire engineering website. You have got some great short videos, and it's all task oriented, and pretty impressive. I don't know if you had them done professionally,
No, I
but
did them.
well, you're a professional. There you go. Yeah. So yeah.
One thing, and we were talking about millennials. I think just the modern day, everybody, like you said, likes to watch videos, and that has been a bit of a challenge, especially when they're out on probation, of a lot of outside influence. I call it contamination. And when I go down to the academy, I do like to show the students the types of publications, the types of websites that they can look into, but I also tell them to restrain themselves right now. So I'll show them a WNYF. I'll show them John Norman's Handbook of Tactics, a fire engineering magazine, whatever website. That these are the types of things you can look into if you're passionate about this and you want to be the best firefighter that you could be. However, restrain yourself from a lot of these outside things and the tricks of the trade. And at this time, just learn the box, learn the basics, learn what's in the box, and make sure you're going to be here off of probation for the next 30 years. And then at that time, you can really get involved with conferences and other things like that. But if they're trying to take on everything they need to do to pass an academy and probation, and also get into the tricks in the trade with YouTube videos and things like that, it may be counterproductive.
Yeah, you're right. And but Daryl, I think talking about the challenges of training millennials, let's hear from a millennial himself who could weigh in on this. Sam, would you like to weigh in?
It's funny. Funny you brought up John Norman's book. One of those 4 mentors I talked about when I was in the Recruit Academy, he told me this is a book that you need to get to read. And I went to my first firehouse, and the captain there, I was told I was not allowed to read that until my recruit year was over. So I had to read that when I did my roving detail. But it was that influence by giving a solid reference that helped build a good foundation that I believe that helped me through my career. And to piggyback on what he was saying also, I think the main problem is, and I think that if we're all honest, we can say that we've all tried gimmicks. We've all got excited about new things being brought into the fire service, new tools. Until you get some experience, you can't distinguish between what is neat and what is effective. And so, yeah, it can bring a lot of contamination into what the best tactic to employ is.
And Maria, when we have a certified or a non-certified class, I mean, the curriculum has to be different because basically, in essence, aren't we basically teaching the test until they pass the state exam?
Well, we're teaching them how to become a firefighter based on the state standards. Can you hear me, guys? Because I know there was an issue hearing me before. All right, so a minimum standards class is taking Joe Schmo off the street who has no idea, has never seen hose, has no idea about fire behavior, and so you're basically teaching him the IFSTA minimum standards program, and that's usually a 9-month program here on our department. But with the certified class, we're teaching them our standard operating procedures, and that's a whole different ball of wax.
I remember coming from the Chicago area, and sometimes it is difficult to learn something a different way than to learn it the first time. If you know what I mean, knots or raising a ladder, something like that, I learned a certain way, and now I have to relearn, rethink it, and that was a challenge. And we do have, as you said, Maria, we have a ton of people that have 10 years on a job, and they've left it. The fire departments, they've left to come here, and they have to learn how we do it. And basically, we tell them, our way may not be any better, but we all have to be on the same sheet of music.
Yeah.
So,
we basically tell them there are more than one ways to skin a cat, but to get you through the academy, this is the way we want you to learn it, and this is the way we wanted you to do it. And of course, that method can be changed, especially when you get into operations. There are more than one ways to skin a cat, and you'll find whatever method works for you. But while you're here, this is the basics, and you're going to learn it that way.
hey, we're gonna wrap this up.
Just one quick thing. Miami-Dade Fire Rescue allows me the opportunity to be able to choose my instructors, and I've been very fortunate that knowing all the people in the department, especially our lieutenants that come into training, I pretty much set a criteria for their qualifications for them to come in, and they come in on special assignment. So I have been fortunate enough to pick, and I've been very, very happy, especially with the last, I want to say 8 classes. We've had some amazing instructors who are just gurus of their craft, and they're constantly learning students of the fire service, as Bill says himself, and very easy to work with. They make my job easy, and that is what I was talking about when I said that we're here to develop leaders. These guys are leaders themselves, and I couldn't be happier with them. They just make it easy for me. So that's also an added benefit. Although some of you say you haven't been in charge, but you're adjunct instructors, people like you guys make it so much easier for people like me who happen to have to be in charge of a recruit class, which is no easy task. And you guys from FDNY, God bless you. There is no way I could even right now wrap my brain around doing 320 people at one time.
We're going to wrap this up. We'll start from my left to right. Clark, any closing thoughts?
I'm sure everyone feels the same way about this. Just the mentorship and treating people right, treating these young men and young women right when they get out of the academy and show up to the firehouse. I'm sure we'll all agree that the time of rooking people and harassing people is long gone. You can't learn anything if you're scared and petrified and worried that people are giving you wrong information just to screw you up, just to mess with you. We all know that that's absolutely not the way. People come, we get recruits at my fire station regularly, and my crew knows, my company knows, absolutely not does anybody ever mess with this student, ever. Every piece of information we give this person is correct and honest, and every single person on the company works all day long with this person to make sure they're getting the most out of their ride. And it works. It works. And I know we'll all talk back when I was a probationary firefighter, I had guys physically assault me, right? This was 20 years ago, physically assault me for doing stuff wrong. I had a captain push me down, knock me down because I didn't do a drill right, stuff like that. And I remember how I felt. Just scared to death to come to work. Didn't even want to come to work, right? I wasn't even worried about learning anything. I'm worried about surviving and literally surviving without getting punched in the face by another firefighter. And those days are gone. I'm sure we'll all agree. And I hope we're not doing that anywhere across the country.
We are showing young men and young women a profession.
Yes.
And they are, who are we to harass? when some of these young people were on the battlefields in Iraq and Afghanistan getting shot at, and then we're harassing them? No, we treat them, and that's one thing I know that's a standard that you uphold, and I see it every day, is you treat the recruits with the utmost of respect. We are mentors, we are instructors, we are not bullies. Dan and Doug, any closing thoughts?
No, always a great conversation, and I think this panel really represents the broad, wide spectrum of the fire service. So it's always great to hear the different, while everything's different in a sense, everything's kind of the same. But I'll go back to the 2 points that I really stuck with me out of the whole conversation is that when we talk about recruits, and obviously my perspective is from my position as ops deputy, is the fire always gets a vote, and it doesn't discriminate about when it flashes over or when something dramatic happens on the fire ground. So regardless of what generation is coming out of recruit schools, if you're a company officer, you should look at every single one of these people that are coming out that you have to lead, not an op school, but they're an opportunity for you to cultivate them into what do you think the fire service should be, because they're going to be the future leaders in leading the organization that you have so much passion and love for. So, always looking at that, and what does that mean is that don't get caught up in that, hey, they're generation X, Y, millennial, who cares? You should know how you need to teach them and train them, and that means you reach out to the recruit school and you say, hey, what was the curriculum? Can you just give me the table of contents so I can have an idea of what topics they covered? So you have an idea, have a conversation about, hey, how was Mitchell in recruit school? Terrible. So you have an idea what you need to do when that person comes there and you're going to lead them. And I think Dale talked on this also, and this is the other side of what we see in the fire service, just in general. I think it's in society. We can never diminish the personal responsibility that every firefighter, every person that takes that oath has. Yes, it's our job as leaders of the organization to help you, support you get to that point. But to what Sam talked about and what Dale talked about, you need to spend time in the box before you can think outside of the box. And so you need to spend the time inside that box refining that skill. If you don't know how to do something and you're a brand new firefighter, seek out that mentor and let them know, hey, I don't feel really confident in doing this. And it's difficult because, we have a messiah complex in the fire service. We're there to fix problems. It's difficult for you to say, I need help. But that's the first step is you look for a mentor and come to them and say, hey, look, I don't feel comfortable with this, and kind of break down that barrier so you can spend the time in the box before you think outside of it. But again, thanks for having me. Another great program. Doug?
Yeah, pleasure to join you guys today. Thanks for getting me involved. I do really appreciate it. Listen, the bottom line is we all, whether you're a line firefighter, whether you're a company officer, whether you're a chief, whether you're running probie school, whether you're an instructor of probie school, we all have a vested interest in our new people, because our new people will very quickly become our old people. And the traditions and the instilling of your departments, not mine, your departments, traditions, and the way you do things at your fire department is what you need to concern yourself with. Make it right for them where you are. The last two things I'll say, Notre Dame has the slogan there as they walk out the door onto the field, play like a champion today. At the FDNY Fire Academy, there's a slogan before they go out onto the drill field that says, let no man's ghost come back to say his training let him down.
Doug, thank you so much for participating today. And you did bring a lot to the table. Daryl, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to go back. There was a question on #FE Talks about if anybody on the panels, their recruits spend any time in recruit school or the academy in the companies, like during a ride along. For us, absolutely not. They do not ride along during the academy. I think it could be a liability having someone like half trained out there. But the biggest thing is going back to that contamination. The academy instructors could kind of, lose some control if people are out there in the companies riding along. And further, they're not even allowed to visit firehouses or fraternize or communicate with firefighters other than the people in the academy during that recruit school. And I think that's good. Other than that, if anybody out there is even thinking about teaching at their local academy, either a junior college or your own fire department, it's a wonderful opportunity, and you could have a tremendous influence in how your firefighters are operating in whatever corner of the fire service you're passionate about, because you get to come in contact with so many more people than you would just on a company.
Well, thank you, Daryl. Sam, any closing thoughts?
No.
Yeah. You're on duty. You didn't get any calls.
Yeah.
Are you on an engine today?
We got a bad connection. What did you say?
Are you on an engine today?
I can't hear you.
Okay.
Daryl Liggins, he's on duty today too. He didn't get any calls either with your daughters, did you, Daryl?
Yeah, I got a couple of little, I got my daughters here at home, and I just put them in the kennel for a little bit, and they're upstairs reading quietly.
I think we talked about this, that we were going to we could bring our dogs on, bring your kids on. Clark, you had your lovely wife on, and I got my daughter right here today. Well, she's kind of like a daughter. I mean, I'm old enough to be her father. Okay. Sam, thank you so much for participating. Any closing thoughts there, Maria?
No, I just think the panel was great. We're pretty much, if you're involved in teaching a recruit academy, and most of you are adjunct instructors, that we have a goal, we have a mission in mind. Hi, who's that? So the goal and the mission pretty much is the same, is to make sure that we're finding good people who want to be firefighters, and we are their mentors, and we want to make sure that mentorship continues even after the academy. And it behooves us as officers, as leaders, to make sure that the firefighters that come out of the Recruit Training Academy continue as students of the fire service and have good mentors to guide them through for the rest of their career. So I appreciate all of you, and thank you for joining us, and thank you for having me.
Got a question for your daughters. Can you hear me, girls?
Yes.
Okay, which one of you girls is prettier?
Both of us.
You are a blessed man, Dad.
I got some good kids.
A little older. Dad's going to be at the front door with a baseball bat. Look at that guy. Oh, what a sweetie.
Can we ask the same question of Doug and Dan?
No, they I don't know, they put their kids, they sequestered their kids, I think. So everybody's kid is welcome on this, as well as pets and anything else like that, because it is.
I brought my pet.
Yeah, right. There you go. Yeah, there you go. Hey, we're going to wrap this up. Again, I want to thank Key. That's KeyFire or keyhose.com. You can't buy better hose. Don't go cheap. Don't go cheap on hose. It's our lifeline. It's literally our lifeline. So thank you all, but a special thanks to Daryl's daughters, lovely daughters, to Doug Mitchell, and our special guest, Captain Maria Chin.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Till next month. And may God bless you and keep you safe in our most noble profession.